not telling you anything that you probably don't know, but I'm trying to show you firsthand what can happen to a life, a promising life. And all of you have got a future, and a promising future. Just like I had, but my poor choices, what it cost me. Through my 20s, I can name off things that happened. I was never able to hold a position or a job. I got lots of breaks because people knew me from Hill Murray hockey. But every job I ever had, I lost because I couldn't hold it. I couldn't show up for work because I was out partying all night. Any relationship that I was in, hey guys, no woman of any quality wants to marry a guy who's a dopehead. I can tell you that right now. I was strung out. I never had any quality relationships. My personal relationships with people in my close circle, all my friends from Hill Murray, pretty much alienated me. My family, as much as they loved me, they became embarrassed of the things that I was doing. In that time frame, I was arrested nearly 24 times for various crimes: assault, DWI, possession, theft, forgery, criminal destruction of property, destruction of legal process, receiving stolen property, and the list goes on. In and out of treatment 9 different times. In and out of jail. You know, first it was 2 days in jail, then it was a week, then the next offense it was a month, then it was 3 months. And this really became a way of life for me. It became acceptable for a guy coming out of high school, had it going on, had the world in the palm of his hands. In addition to all the consequences from the compromises, through the addiction, my addiction had gone. You know, one thing about addiction, it never gets better until something's done about it. So if you're experimenting with alcohol or marijuana, and believe me, I know what goes on in these schools because I speak all over the place. I know the methamphetamine epidemic and the ecstasy. I know it all. I'm not sitting here to be cocky, but I'm a professional at what I do. And I know what happens in these schools. And if you're messing around with those drugs, you better receive some help now. And reach out and get some help now before you have a life of hell like I did. You know, I remember in my early 20s, I would only snort cocaine, I wouldn't smoke cocaine. I'd only snort methamphetamine, I wouldn't smoke methamphetamine. You know, through the years it was snort, shooting, heroin, methamphetamine, cocaine, ecstasy, LSD, a daily marijuana smoker. Alcohol became a ritualistic way of life for me every day. And I became a real lonely person. The suicidal thoughts went through my head. I got caught up in a life of drug dealing to support my habit. And all this time, I was just thinking back, how did I get here? How did I get to this spot? Time and time again. I would get out of treatment, I would make some strides forward, you know, I would start listening to people, and we're going to talk a little bit later in my presentation about that. I would listen to the people ahead of me, and then, you know, once I had a little bit you know, going on in my life and I got things back going on, then I started to rely on my own thinking again. And my very best thinking got me locked up in the back of squad cars, in treatment centers, and in jail every time. So I would listen to the people like who you have in your life now, your teachers, who sometimes don't seem like, you know, they're out of your best interest at heart. Believe me, they do. You'll see that when you get to be a little older. Your parents, who I know, you know, they drive us crazy at a young age. They think that, you know, they're trying to cramp our lifestyle, when really they're just trying to protect you and keep you from going down the wrong road. I can say to your friends, and that's your friends that are winners, the people who will steer you from trouble. Because I had friends that tried to, but I had all the answers. See, I was a guy that was arrogant, cocky, who thought he knew it all, and that wasn't going to happen to me. This whole time I was trying to play hockey. I tried to revive my hockey career. And I would make a few strides. And here's my biggest passion in life was hockey. But even that would not sustain me through the addiction. It was a very humbling and humiliating experience to continually fall on my face and continually have to pick myself back up. And for my parents and my family, when people would ask, how's Mark doing? They'd have to say, not real well. He's back in jail again. He's back in treatment again. You know, he just lost his job for the 16th time. And instead of making progress in life, I was going backwards. And this cycle continued for 2 decades. I remember some situations I could share with you, just to let you know that I've been there. I remember I was with a prostitute, and I walked into a crack house in South Minneapolis. And I thought I was a pretty tough guy. But a group of gangbangers from Chicago put the pistols to my head and pistol whipped me and beat the living you-know-what out of me. Stole everything I had, my car, my money, my watch, and everything. And the one put the gun to my forehead, pulled the trigger. And there wasn't a bullet in the chamber. I got hooked up with a Mexican drug cartel through association. And I started running drugs from Tucson, Arizona to Boston and New York City. Large quantities of drugs. I was getting paid a lot of money. And I thought this was a glamorous lifestyle. And just to show you that money doesn't buy happiness, and it doesn't last, I would go on these runs and I would get paid. And we're talking a lot of cash. And I thought that would buy me happiness. 2 months later, I couldn't even buy myself a pack of gum. I'd be stealing food out of dumpsters to eat. So I'd have to repeat this cycle. While I was involved with these type of people, I saw lots of bad things happen to people. And I did a lot of bad things to people that I'm not very proud of. Along the way, there's been quite a few friends that I've lost to addiction. Either through overdoses, through murder, or through suicide. And to go to a friend's funeral, you think that would be enough to compel you to stop. It did for a moment, but the addiction is such a powerful manifestation in your life that it would always override, those feelings would go away, and I'd be right back into the same old lifestyle. In 2001, or let me back up, in 1998, I had come home from one of my drug runs, and I had tons of warrants out in Minnesota for a bunch of crimes I committed. Couldn't even come back to see my parents. Couldn't even come back to the state, but I made a risky move and I came back to Minnesota. Missed my brother's wedding. Missed all the events, all my reunions here at school. But this particular time I came back to Minnesota. And sure enough, like the law always does, the law caught up with me. I was here 1 week. This time, the consequences were a little more serious. I got arrested, charged with numerous violations, and I did a year in the county jail. During that year, I really strived while I was incarcerated to make some changes in my life. And just to show you how powerful addiction is, the very first day that they released me from jail, I was back in my old lifestyle.